Hello, hello, hello. Let's try this again. Got my camera set up really nice. Actually, this is my tires are saying. I haven't turned in 3 days. Let's see what they end up looking like. At 159,350-ish, we'll say, the Pilot Pros blew out. It was on my way back from getting my surgery on June 2nd. Well, June 2nd is when the car was marked for impound on the side of the road. If anybody's in the market for a relatively newish, definitely used set of 21-inch rims for Model S, I have 6 for sale. One that is definitely cracked. One that, cracked and like probably seriously out of commission. One is gently cracked, like hairline crack, still holds air pretty good. I even still have some tread on this tire, the Michelin Pilot Sport. Let's see. There's my depth gauge. Haha. Relatively brand new tire. So I have downgraded to 19s. The other 4 rims are in a safe place because they are of higher value since they hold air and don't have any cracks in them. The other 2 are just holding my solar array up currently, but they are also on the market. I could find other things to keep that. So that's what we're dealing with. Instead of going with whatever Tesla wanted to do, these tires currently have about 25 miles on them. So looking at my tire depth gauge, these are brand new tires. Gotta say, they totally make the car look dorky as hell. But let's see what we can do with them. How many miles can we get? Play Schwab. I'm definitely going to be giving them a 5-star review here soon. Just gotta finish fine-tuning it a little bit. I appreciate them. Tesla Service Center Reno. Failure once again. What I've come to expect though, sadly. They still have me down as plain well. Very interesting. Chrome valve stem, 4 wheels installed package, 5 lug nuts key, 19 by 9.0, 5-4, 5.5, 120 Vox CV3s. I got the 245 Hypertrack. Wheel spin, balance, passenger tire disposal. Charged me $20 to get rid of my tires. They were pretty nasty. America's Best Tire Warranty, free. All said and done, $2,915.87. Woot. Only $70 in labor. Great. Tesla's quote was $1,000 more for whatever, I guess. only difference, I suppose, is for that extra $1,000, my Tesla would tell me what the wheel size is. Cause, oh, it is. And it's got it right, the sonic carbon slipstream. Dang. Yeah, 5 stars all the way around. I got no complaints now that the car figured out what size tires we're riding on. Alright, we're gonna go to the Best Western, but we're gonna add a stop. We wanna go to Walmart. Maybe we wanna go to Ridley's, believe it or not. So Walmart, Ridley's, Best Western, home. Go. Well, before you do any of this extra shit, it's saying we're gonna need to stop and charge. And I'm like, no, remove all charging stops and make it work now. Alright, but just so you know, there's no superchargers near your home. Well, we can make it to Walmart with 25%. We can make it to Ridley's with 24%. We can make it to Best Western with 24%. But we can only make it home from there with 9%. Well, good for us. There's a good chance that we can maybe find some free energy just laying around near the Best Western, both country and maybe get enough energy to get home and back again. Woot. Looks like everything's good to go here. This is the key is not inside. We do have the key, a Rayma key. So, yeah, I should just restore. I don't care how bad it is. Sorry, my mirror got messed up. I just gotta have my seat the way it was. 'Cause my seat was amazing. Love my seat. So comfy. Alright. Like we talked about, the key is here. Full self-driving. Yes, ever since I got 14.3, software 2026.14.3, my video of the car entering the passing realm is scary and dangerous to me. But it's what humans do, and I did have it in hurry mode. So the car passed under my circumstances, under my supervision, and everything was fine. But would it have been different if any situation was tweaked, if the car was going slightly slower, if the truck was going slightly faster? Who knows what would have happened. Since then we've gotten 2026 14.6, and I've had some crazy stuff going on as well. Let's see what happens today. We're gonna turn left. Come on, baby. Just look at this off-roading capabilities. Alright. When I say I have 14.6, it's 2026 14.6. And that's just my software version of my FSD, which is 12.6.4. Full self-driving version 12.6.4. But like I've said millions of times, I've had several updates in the software that made serious changes, and this number here, 12.6.4, hasn't changed in a long time. Like passing things, that's new. Passing things correctly, Did we get it lucky, or should we be concerned? Look at it, stopping perfectly for the gate. Even my wife doesn't really understand where to stop for the gate. Poor babes. Just try to keep this air conditioning going. Let's see how good pulling it comes through today. Oh man, I'm definitely gonna have to disable airplane mode for that. Been doing some issues with our Google Fi service out here in Winnemucca. Internet, Google Fi. So what I do is put it in airplane mode to try and make sure I don't go over my data limit, which is 30 gigabytes a month. My stepson G-Rady used up his entire gigabytes for the entire month. 30 gigabytes in like 3 days. Well, how was that? Isn't it special? Come on. Gotta find the key. Where is my key? See how close we got to the gate? At first I thought that's too close, and I'm like, you know what? It's perfect. Couldn't get any closer. So first we gotta turn right. But I think the car knows that. What do you know? It did know that. It did know that. Haha. Looking right, looking left. Supervision. Haven't had a strikeout in a while. Doing great on my insurance program. Oh snap, it did drop 1 point, yo. But 98 is not too bad. Breaks it down to my monthly premium. If I can get it back to 99, you'll be getting up to, or down to 123 a month, but it's guesstimating that the 98 is a possibility you're going to go up $2. But not too bad for full coverage on a Model S, on a historic vehicle. So my phone is automatically downloading stuff. And I feel like I should just stop it right now. these tires. Like, it's so soft. It feels like a brand new vehicle. I know the dirt road isn't really helping us out right now with the display, but not too bad. And I gotta have it on biodefense mode. I hate the smell of the dust. It's one of my hardest problems of living out here in the desert. There's dust. Can't get away from it.
Thank you to Novium, the team behind the pen for supporting PBS. We've been looking for messages from the stars ever since Frank Drake went to the Great Telescope at Tau Ceti and Epsilon Caravani 65 years ago. We saw nothing we couldn't explain by nor have the much more extensive CT surveys conducted since. So maybe there are no alien signals to see, or maybe we need to update how we search for them. And maybe when we do that, we'll find that the aliens have been talking to us all along.
Good stop at the stop
and
sign.
the messages are already sitting in
There's
our
nobody coming from paradise.
archives, or will be glaringly obvious in the new generation of giant surveys
Dave
that
coming
are
that way?
just starting.
There's somebody coming, but I think we can make it. We're in hurry mode. Let's get
Before we
it.
get started, a couple of quick announcements. First, we have some new data. Liking and commenting really does help get the episodes shared. So, please do both of those things. And we've also learned that the number one reason that people support us on Patreon isn't actually the perks. It's simply to support the Space Time community and the work that we do. So, for those of you who do support, thank you so much. But don't get me wrong, there are perks, and they're good. There's a link in the description if you'd like to join. This really would be a huge help. Next up, we're excited to announce our Fates of the Universe UV Glow t-shirt and hoodie. Whether you're rooting for the Big Rip, the Big Crunch, or the Big Freeze, you can wear your prediction for the universe's ultimate fate. And thanks to the UV Glow printing, it lights up after sun exposure even in the depths of space. Now, on to the episode. Although it's not conclusively the case, most major SETI programs have been based on ideas of what we, humanity, could transmit, if not right now, then in the relatively near future. Well, we are now in the relatively near future compared to the first SETI surge of 1960, so how do we shift our thinking based on what we can do now and what we now know? As a launching point, we're going to look at a new paper by Ben Zuckerman. Dr. Zuckerman has been contributing to and commenting on SETI research for many decades. The new paper pulls together his thoughts on how that search needs to evolve given some updated thinking. Zuckerman's proposed strategy updates are centered around making better guesses about what a technological civilization might do, or at least rejecting some previous unfounded assumptions. There are three main interconnected points to consider: transmission technology, how to target those transmissions, and tying it all together, the energy available for those transmissions. Now, starting with the transmission technology itself. In the 60s, we were getting really good at building giant radio antennae, and there were advantages compared to, say, visible or infrared light transmission. The tech is simpler, just currents running along chunky wires, versus, say, the advanced materials of micro-scale engineering needed for
Alright, I gotta turn my headlights on. The car does not read this sign right here on the right, so I'm coming here to controls, just turn that to on.
So yeah, obviously aliens would be doing interstellar ham radio.
And I can tell my lights are on now because the lights are on.
With radio is that
TV.
it's hard to
Oh,
see
so
what's
up here.
beam. For an electromagnetic wave, the tightest possible beam has a spread that's equal to the wavelength times the distance traveled divided by the size of the transmitting antenna. an alien 100 light years away who wanted to, say, flood Earth's entire orbit with a radio signal would need a radio array with a 1,000-kilometer baseline. We can and have built these 1,000-kilometer scale baseline radio arrays by now, but even with that level of collimation, the power of the signal is still enormously spread out over an area 140 billion times the surface area of the Earth. It would take an enormous amount of power to make such a diffuse signal stand out above the galactic radio background. Early SETI folk guessed that an energy-limited civilization might solve this issue by channeling their limited power into a very narrow frequency band. That spike in the radio spectrum would then stand out above the galactic background. Frank Drake even guessed what frequency aliens might use, the so-called water hole. It's a 300 megahertz span where the galactic radio background is the weakest and right between an oxygen and hydrogen emission line that Drake guessed might form a natural framing of a galactic narrowband ham network. This sort of narrowband radio search strategy drove many of the biggest past and present SETI programs, and it seems reasonable to try this, except that the strategy hasn't yielded anything yet. If the aliens are trying to talk to us, then it seems they're not doing it how we think they're doing it. According to Zuckerberg, one of the keys to rethinking our strategy is to take seriously the fact that any technological alien civilization we're likely to encounter will have been around for much longer than we have. That shifts our thinking on each of our three original points: the transmission tech, the targeting, and the energy limits. I'll come back to how we may need to shift those, but first, let's see if we can convince ourselves that any aliens that we can plausibly notice are almost certainly more advanced than we are. Now, it comes down to the average longevity of a technological civilization. Let's say that they tend to last for 10,000 years after becoming able to send noticeable signals with probes or whatever. We, humanity, are in our first century of this period. That's the youngest 1% of galactic civilizations. So 99% would be more advanced than us, and 90% would be around 1,000 years into their technological phase, so also much more advanced. Even if the civilization's survival time is only 1,000 years, most will still be ahead of us. But what if the survival time is much less than 1,000 years? Then a good fraction of civilizations are of comparable tech level to ours. But in that case, then the window of their noticeability is tiny. In order to notice them, our own 100 years of existence of tech civilization would have to occur within their 100 or so years, modulo the travel time of their signals. And that overlap window is vanishingly small, a 1 in 100 million fraction of the 10 billion years of the Milky Way's lifespan. Of course, the Milky Way may have many of these razor-thin expanding bubbles containing the desperate hails from newly emergent but soon-to-be doomed intelligent species, but the hails themselves are doomed because no species lasted long enough to exist during the passage of such a bubble. And that may be true, but if so, the case is hopeless, and we should focus on finding the signals of species that last longer, or at least so advises Ben Zuckerberg. So, what will an advanced civilization do differently? As a relatively more advanced civilization ourselves compared to the 60s and only in very specific respects, what can we advise regarding our key factors, tech, targets, and energy? Regarding transmission technology, we know how to do other things besides radio by this point. With modern laser technology, we can transmit highly collimated visible and infrared beams of light. We haven't built ones big enough to be space telephones, but in principle we know that it's possible and can track a path towards this in a way that we just couldn't in 1960. And that helps with targeting. Remember that the spread of a collimated beam is proportional to wavelength. Visible light is several tens of thousands of times shorter than the wavelength of radio with proportionally higher collimation. The beam collimation that we could achieve with our 1,000-kilometer radio array can be achieved with only a 1-meter laser aperture. Or if we say, to hell with it and build a 1,000-kilometer laser array, probably 100 kilometers in space, then we can focus it to the scale of a single planet rather than the entire planet's orbit. But is it even possible to target a single planet hundreds of light years away? Well, maybe Yes. In the 1960s, we had no idea whether there even were planets around other stars at all. Now we know that essentially all stars have them, and that Earth-sized planets around Sun-like stars are common. The Kepler mission told us that this is a statistical necessity, even though we haven't actually found exact Earth planets yet. But we do know how to find them in principle. More importantly, as emphasized by Zuckerman, we will ultimately be able to take pictures of exo-Earths using space-based coronagraphs and star shades and optical or infrared interferometry. One day, we'll be resolving the surfaces of Earth-like planets within hundreds of light years to actually see continents and oceans and alien forests, and even city lights. Spectral information gathered this way, especially in the infrared, can even reveal the chemical signatures of an active biosphere. Even back in the 1980s, we were gearing up to build the terrestrial planet finder, which would have been able to image exoplanets within 50 light years. It was canned due to politics and JWST costing too much. But now, the habitable worlds will pick up the mission and get us our first pics in the 2030s. So, if we're this close to finding out where local, habitable, and even inhabitable worlds are, surely a civilization far more advanced than us will have already done so. And this is one of Zuckerman's key points. An advanced species in the local region that cares at all about locating neighbours will already know that we are here. And by we, I mean life. Our technological signals are only 100 or so light years away from us by now, so only those within that range know that some primates figure out how to live natural lives. So, now, not only does a technological neighbour have the ability to send highly coordinated signals, but they also know where to send them to the life-bearing worlds in their vicinity. Which brings us back to the energy issue. An advanced civilization probably isn't anything energy limited in the way that the original setting programs assumed. We may be able to assume that signalers will be pumping more energy into more efficient beams, enabling them to do various things like transmitting messages across many frequencies at once rather than a single narrow band, and they could also get their message to us from much further away. Okay, let's bring together what we've learned. If we follow Zuckerman's reasoning, then the most likely signals are not narrowband radio with wide angular spread, but rather highly targeted beams that could appear at any or all frequencies, more likely within optical or infrared wavebands. And these could come potentially from much further away than is possible with energy-limited broadcasts. He suggests a goal of observing all sun-like stars within around 650 light years, with the range being chosen somewhat arbitrarily, but
it definitely feels squishy.
An okay definition local
like
in our 100,000 year light year radius galaxy. In the 650 light year range, there are approximately 60,000 Earth-like planets within the sun.
Hearing that ping difference, they sound different, completely different. I think the road noise is better. It's pretty windy right now.
Resemble Earth in various cultural factors. Of course, we don't know how close to Earth-like civilization spawning planet needs to be, but erring on the side of conservative is the right way to start. Okay, so let's say we locate the entire planet to Earth. But in general, we have a good idea of what natural sources of electromagnetic radiation look like. They tend to consist of a combination of fairly well understood families of spectrum, from hot gas and plasma, from charged particles moving in magnetic fields, and from electrons hopping between atomic energy levels and other things. Frequency spikes in unexpected parts of the spectrum, and other unexpected intensity patterns can signal a non-natural origin. Or you might expect a strange time dependence. Patterns can also be encoded in how the signal changes over time, like sudden and periodic changes in signal strength that may reveal encoded information not possible from natural sources. If the signal really does come from another planet, and if the signal has a distinct frequency structure, then that should at least be clear, because signal, but so far all we could explain by combinations of mapping processes. The hope, though, is that if our astronomical observations get smart enough and broad enough, we'll know a technological signal when we see it. But for now, what we really need to do is look at anomalies, and modern settings are becoming more and more about anomaly detection rather than targeted searches for digits of pi encoded in a Doppler variant or a swipe or whatever we imagine they will do. While it's good to keep an open mind, the problem with looking for generic anomalies is that the possibility space is enormous. Back when Frank Drake did his first SETI search, it wasn't possible just to look for anything weird coming from anywhere. Now it's not just possible, they're already doing it. For example, the European Space Organization's HARPS program uses a telescope in the Chilean Andes to look for exoplanets around every 3,000 stars by measuring the tiny Doppler shift in the star spectrum caused by the single tiny wobble in the star's motion induced by orbiting planets. But in a study published last year, Benjamin Fields and Jason Woodman showed that this same data could be sensitive to laser communication from these orbiting planets. They didn't find anything, but it's a good proof of concept that techno signatures may be hidden in data that we are already taking, and maybe in data that we've already taken. This whole idea of piggybacking SETI on existing astronomy surveys is being called commensal SETI, and it's something that Zuckerman highlights also. The sorts of signals that he expects, and many others besides, may be observable in our current and very future surveys, because those surveys are insane. Our ability to put extremely sensitive, gigantic cameras on ever larger telescopes and some of those telescopes in space has opened up a new era in astronomy in general, an era of big data, of all sky, and of time domain surveys. For example, the Rubin Observatory, also in the Chilean Andes, is about to start its 10-year survey in which it images the entire southern sky every 3 days. The Euclid and Grace Roman telescopes bring the wide field capability to crystal clarity in space. The SK8 old-fashioned radio, though, will be so powerful that it feels like it's getting close to the advanced civilization radio telescopes that people like Frank Drake were imagining back in the 60s. These facilities are just beginning or about to begin their work of downloading the universe with great depth and resolution, both in space and time, that has never been seen before. And few imagined back in the 60s. And while the main science drivers are to characterize the natural universe, these are also going to be better SETI programs than any dedicated SETI program today. In a paper published in July last year, Eleanor Gallay and team outlined possibilities might be in the observatory. The data flow from this survey is gigantic, and will start enough graduate students in the observable universe to look at every pixel for every anomaly. But systems are now in place to automatically monitor 20 terabytes that come from the telescope every night to spot interesting changes. This is done by teams known as data brokers who gain quick access to the data and run their clever algorithms, many of them leaning heavily into machine learning to look for different types of events. They're really focused on natural stuff like supernovae and asteroids, but unnatural variation can also be picked up, especially with some like patching the algorithms. The Galley team showed that the existing alert structure might also be co-opted to find a variety of techno signatures, and that Rubin is going to enable a scale of search that will even let us spot the most excruciatingly rare techno signatures. Commensal SETI isn't restricted to the optical IR focused surveys that Zuckerman's paper emphasizes. For example, it really could be that aliens are real. Now, the square kilometre array is currently being assembled in South Africa and Australia and will ramp up its sensitivity towards its completion in the early 2030s. The SKA will take as much data every second as Rubin takes every night. That means the challenges are the same families for Rubin, but even crazier. How do you pick out potential signals without having to score a bit? Several research teams have been working hard towards building the right alert algorithms.
Okay, we're going 55 miles an hour, meow, so I'm going to take control and tell it only go 60.
They'll show us the beginning
Because,
of the universe, the lives and deaths of stars and galaxies.
I don't know, mess around with the police around here, you know?
A few of us will be watching that.
Trying to keep it all on the G to G.
Something else. For someone else. Signals that we're not the only intelligence in this world or space time. Thank you to Novium for supporting PBS. Inspired by space.
They say imitation is the highest form of flattery.
We're now stranded in the Arctic for the next 7 days! All we have to survive out here is what is currently on our backs. Alright, we're on like 2 feet of snow right now. We need to get building a shelter because it's really cold today. Hey, where are we going? Follow me.
And the cold is only the beginning.
We're gonna be hypothermia. My toes were starting to turn a little purple. Need a miracle right now.
We failed our last survival. So this is me and my 5 friends' attempt at redemption.
I told none of the boys to bring tents because
What's that?
this is gonna be our home.
We're staying in snow.
Yep.
Today, we have 2 objectives. Create a shelter and build a fire.
Go deeper, guys.
Are you actually shoveling right now?
We're getting more shovels.
Because as soon as the sun sets here in the Arctic,
Guys, if we don't get inside before it gets dark, we might freeze to death. No pressure.
it becomes so freezing cold at night that exposure to wind for 10 minutes could cause a limb to literally freeze.
I gotta move fast to get firewood. The deeper we go, the harder the snow gets.
Guys are just going at that snow fort.
We're making a snow fort not only to protect us from the Arctic wind, but also to share our warmth.
So I had told the car to not go over 60, and the car's been making its own decisions. As we're coming up onto this 35 now, we are almost going 48 or 42. 42 is a little bit too fast for me. I'm gonna tell it only go
We have a place to sleep tonight.
40. And now we're coming to 25. I'm gonna tell it don't go more than 30.
And we're never gonna sleep well. It might not be comfortable for these divas, but we're at least not gonna
And
die.
finally,
It's just
all of our
enough
tires are at
that no one dies
2.8
this
bar.
way.
Sorry, Mr. Beast. Sometimes it errs on the side of caution at pedestrian walks. We are already going 23 for a second there. You might be seeing a shadow, but I'm not seeing anything popping up on the display. It's tapping the brakes and it's slamming to a stop. I don't want to piss off the guy behind me too much, so I gave it some acceleration. And that gave it the confidence. It's like, hey, I'm supervising. There are no people out here. You are correct. I don't know why you're slowing down. I don't know what you were scared of, but I'm here. That's what the accelerator is good for. Okay, now all 3 of my tires, except for the driver's front, just clicked over to 2.9. All the other ones are 2.8. I'm guessing that the other 3 need a little bit of air, because 2.9 is supposed to be my cold temperature. You know what I mean? Okay. I need to really hit that right in the average, because it's gonna get hot as balls in the desert and cold as hell. Hot as balls, cold as hell. We could have went. Let's see if it worked out. Yeah, it worked out. Let's see what we're gonna do here. I can turn my lights off finally. Let's go back to auto. So you don't need to have your lights on when you're on that highway. Why don't you just keep going this way? Saying that way's faster. Alright, let's do it. No, it's blinking yellow. Allegedly, we're gonna save a minute by going this way. I don't see it. probably would have went there, yo. Go, go, go. Let's do it. It did it. Nope, no stopping here. No stopping for us. There's no people here. I definitely gave it some acceleration through that. Didn't want to give those guys any hint that we were going to turn. Gamma's Electric. Working at the car wash. Welcome to Diversified. Here's your host. FedEx, y'all. I actually went over there and dropped off my package to be FedExed, and it was the most sketchy thing I've ever done. But it worked out. I thought for sure I just gave away my EcoFlow Delta Pro 3 because I had to add some warranty work done. They wanted me to ship it in a box. It was hilarious. Tell them we'll go that way. And it's like, no, we're going this way. Well, now what are we gonna do? Car's like, look, I got this, alright? You wanted to go to Walmart. We're here now. In the back of Walmart. Thought that guy had a bicycle on his back for a second. It was a tree. A tree you. So Walmart does tire service as swell. I didn't know. Speed bumps apparently, bro. He slows down for that one. Good job. Take it off a little slower. Let's turn right. Maybe you stop at the stop sign and stop there. Don't hit nobody. Stop sign isn't the dumbest place ever. How can anybody see that sign? Let's go that way. Alright. Gonna park right there. I don't care what you want to do, Tesla. This is where we're parking. Alright, y'all. Step 1 completed. Whew. See how much of our trip was.
wrong with our Wi-Fi? At 2:34, I set the time. Any updates just arrived at Walmart's. I'll also sent it to this one. Let's go see if we can find some stuff. So, a lot of times when you're doing a modelless camping, you'll just be locked out, and if you open the doors after you've been sitting here a while, it will set the alarm off. And even if you disable it from here, it won't matter. So you have to go to your app and tell it to disable, and then you can unlock the doors. And then when I get out, I can lock the doors. See, we have one more place to go. And a stop. Eastside Market for brats. You know what? Cancel that idea. Cancel that idea. We don't have enough fucking room for that shit. Good. Why are we going right? We should have went. Why are we going left? We should have went right. Go. I don't know where things were going, but we need to go across the pond and it's right there. Duh. Ridley's has all their cottage cheese on sale for $1.69. Metal Gold. I went with the low fat, 2% milk fat, small curds. Breakfast of Champions. I've been informed that these are the worst cookies to get. I've been waiting for the price to drop, so I think it was only $3.99. try one of the apples. I'm sure the banana's fine. Let's go, green light. And we're gonna turn left into here. Turn left, meow. Turn left, meow. Turn left, meow. Turn left, meow. Had to take it out to tell it to turn left, meow. Alright. It's like, why would we want to turn here when we could go straight ahead? Now which way we're going? The wrong way. One way, do not enter. And it's entering with confidence. So look, we know exactly where to go. We are confident we are here. And no one else is here. Going right. And let's turn left now. Excellent. Obviously, you have to turn left again. And we've made it to the dog park. Woot woot. I'll just take it out from here. Thank you, Tesla. And from here, we're going to just park and charge for a little bit. Watch some YouTube videos I have downloaded. And wait for Babes to finally finish charging up the EcoFlow. She's gonna bring the truck so we can stop and park it overnight at Ford. Thanks for watching.